Hello, I'm Bintz coming today from Wheaton, Illinois in the U.S. Welcome to Impact, a podcast about how we can each bring about real change in the world and getting practical in making that happen.
And hello, I'm Clive Johnstone, coming today from Leigh-on-Sea in the UK. A special welcome if you're listening for the first time, and a big thank you to our new subscribers. Each week, we look at one aspect of how we can connect our hearts to offer healing for others with our collective intention, prayers, and meditation, and go behind the headlines of a critical happening in our world that needs our attention right now.
In today's episode, we're taking one of those regular deep dives to more fully understand and tune in with something many of us may know only a little about and see where we might hone in with our prayers and intentions. And as we record, it's July 18th, 2024.
So, following hot on the heels of our earlier episode this week, reflecting on where we might hone in with our intentions and prayers following the assassination attempts on U.S. presidential candidate and former President Donald Trump last Saturday, today we look at an exciting and, I believe, very, very important initiative that Ellen is very closely involved with to create coherence and sustain intention in a beloved community. Not only holding the upcoming U.S. presidential election in November in mind, but remembering the large number of elections happening around the world this year. Specifically, we are taking our deep dive to talk about the peaceful and free elections events being organized by the Labyrinth Activist Network. And as we do sometimes, it's my pleasure to interview Ellen as a lead in that work. There are now just a little, I'm sure most listeners know, a little over 3 months to go before the US presidential election is due to be held on Tuesday, November the 5th, later this year, in what many believe will be the most important election in the US for decades, not to mention in the world. The level of debate so far has often been divisive, as we know, although both sides are now promising a breakaway from the toxicity that has characterized campaigning up to now. Now, apart from maintaining calm and returning to respectful debating, what happens between now and November will obviously be critical in determining the election result and what happens either side of the polling day. Given the critical nature of this, the Labyrinth Activist Network is holding a series of online events over the coming weeks, holding intention not only for the US election, but for peaceful and free elections for the many that are happening around the world this year. This week alone, Rwanda went to the polls, returning its long-term president, Paul Kagame, to power with something like 99%. I was very suspicious of those votes, but who are we to say? This is perhaps all the more needed this year, as an especially large number of elections have or are being held worldwide. Polls being held in at least 97 countries, which represents close to half of the world's population. Excepting the USA, others scheduled to go to the polls in the coming months include Algeria, Ghana, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Somaliland, South Sudan, Tunisia, Chile, Uruguay, Azerbaijan, Jordan. I'm reading a long list just to make the point. Austria, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Georgia, Romania, Moldova, Romania, and Palau. That's not to mention many state and regional elections in countries including Russia, Canada, and Germany, and the many general elections that have already taken place, including in Russia, India, South Africa, and the UK. Ellen is very active in and often initiates Labyrinth Activist Network's events, as many of our listeners will know. We thought, therefore, that we might take this opportunity to say a little about this very focused time for intention holding for peaceful and free elections, and explain how you might also get involved if you feel that you would also like to take part. Any of the events the network arranges are open for anybody to join. So, Ellen, taking the guest spot this week.
Yeah.
Can you remind us what the Labyrinth Activist Network is and what it does?
Well, the Labyrinth Activist Network is a group of people who come together with the intention with a common intention, using the power of coherence and entrainment. That's, when many people come together, we become entrained. To use that focused intention to set it out into the world. And, if you've heard the term contemplative activism, sacred activism, there are many different ways this phrase is being used today. So it's basically contemplative activism on the labyrinth. And why do we use the labyrinth to do this? It doesn't have to be on the labyrinth, but we feel that the labyrinth is a great container for peace and grief and focus and integration. And the research that's coming through about all of this is very encouraging too. So combining intention, the collective together, and the labyrinth, we feel, is really powerful. And the phrase I like to use is powerful change can happen peacefully. And I think that sums up what happens in our Labyrinth Activist Network. Making change in a different way.
Very, very non-violent.
Yes.
It's the extreme to non-violent activism, isn't it, really?
I even say it's the opposite of war.
Yeah.
It could be as powerful, but it's the opposite.
Yeah. And the people involved are being held in this beautiful container as well. As we say at the end of every episode and put in our show notes, you host already monthly circle events.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what they do?
So we come together in circle via Zoom. People from all over the world come together, and our meetings are an hour to an hour and a half. Usually they last about an hour and a half. We just, do some basic introduction and meditation at the beginning. In some of our circles, we have a little educational piece, for lack of a better word, or something that might be interesting for people to know. We have an intention specific for that month, and we meditate on that, or we do a finger labyrinth walk. Each person does that on their own, obviously, because we're in Zoom. And then after that, after focusing on the intention, everybody focusing on that intention for the month, we come back together in small groups, and people can talk about what they felt, what came up for them, what they're sensing, ideas, maybe even for moving forward to change whatever's happening if it needs changing. And then we come back together in a large group and discuss what the commonalities are amongst these small groups. It's really amazing because we're a coherent group we're entering our third year.
I didn't realize
it's a very welcoming group.
Wow.
Please don't feel that it's set. It's totally welcoming new people. And the more people we have in this circle, the more powerful we'll be. Then that doesn't stop there. The intention that we have created for that meeting, we ask the members to hold for the whole month. And if you are walking a labyrinth outdoors or indoors, wherever you find that, if you're meditating, if you're doing a finger labyrinth walk, we're asking you to hold that intention for the whole month until we get together again and the intention changes. And
a really very strong focus over a considerable period of time with that.
Right.
Group. Yeah.
Right. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, July 23rd. So any of our listeners who are so inclined to come and join us, I welcome you with open arms, and everyone in the group would too.
Of course, we'll put the link for that in the show notes. And that's 5 to 6 p.m. or 5 to 6:30.
Well, yes. Well, let's see. That's 7 to 8:30 Eastern time. And I know our global listeners it might be easier for them to track that from Eastern time.
Eastern time, yeah. Whenever I see Mountain Time over here,
I know it's confusing.
Well, it's usually, if it's in the evening, it's just no go to me.
I know. It's
unfortunate. Mountain is definitely getting far west.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We do have people who join us from Australia because it's the morning for them. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Plug in.
It's nice when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to schedule a future dates on the website, haven't you? The Labyrinth Activist Network.
Usually always the fourth Tuesday of the month.
So it's a fairly regular slot.
Yeah.
What specifically is happening in connection with this focused gathering. That's what it can be called. This focused series of intention holding for peaceful and free elections over the coming weeks, coming months.
Well, we kind of suspected that this might be a difficult time for people all over the world, because as you listed just a few of those countries that are voting this year, it's a tough time. It's a tough time for democracy around the world. And so a few months back, Chris Katzenmeier, who was the executive director of the Legacy Labyrinth Project, which is the sponsor of the Labyrinth Activist Network, we talked about doing something to support the peaceful and free elections, but also to support people who are feeling stress and trauma and are subjected to the divisive rhetoric that's happening. For some of us, that's very painful and difficult to manage. So in coming together in community, and this specific event, which is 6 meetings that last from September 6th all the way till November 17th, I think it is, or it's after, I think it's November 17th is our last meeting, but we'll meet 6 times in that time frame, is meant to, with the theory that if you come together in community and you become coherent and entrained and caring and supportive, that makes the energy in that group more powerful as we come together with this specific intention for peaceful and free elections around the world, to send that out. So supporting each other and managing ourselves and the energy, our energetic responsibility in the world by using each other as touch tones and support is helping in 3 different layers, right?
Yes.
In our individual energy we're putting out, this group energy is strong. And then the energy we're putting out into the world with this very high intention that transcends the politics that are happening. That's an important piece. We are transcending the politics.
Yeah, it's one of the huge challenges, I think, that most of us face when we've got so much invested ourselves in something.
Yes.
We have strong ideologies. We have perhaps real fear about particular direction something may take. We're fearful for divisiveness, but also when there has been toxicity in the past. Yeah, it I know for me it can be a just one very simple trigger in a TV debate or something that will get me very angry and stirred up.
Yes, and it's painful. It's actually painful for me. People who are highly sensitive, who this stuff is hard.
Yes,
it's hard.
Yes. And so having that community to ground us and to keep us as best we can collectively, as you say, above the politics here is very important, very important. And clearly that the way you operate the circles with, the small groups and the wider group and the ongoing support of the network provides that kind of support, I imagine.
And there will also be a research element to this. Baylor University is going to be studying what we're doing. And we've done some research in the past with Baylor that's along with World Labyrinth Day, called it The Big Connection, and with some wonderful outcomes. And they are interested in also studying what happens with this group as we come together, which could be very exciting.
Yes, yes. It's certainly a very important initiative, a very important group. And we were talking in the last episode, weren't we, about Heart Math Institute's research on energetic responsibility.
Yes.
And the part we can play, again, in terms of, comes down again to how we channel our energy, doesn't it?
Yes.
And how we channel our intention. And it's not just the circle and these events that people that come to the Labyrinth Activist Network can benefit from and enjoy. Among other things, you have a book club, I believe.
Yes, we do. We have covered books, The Hope by Andrew Harvey, Subtle Activism. We just finished the book Active Hope, which was great. I highly recommend it. I don't know what our next book is. Tisha Straub is our book club leader, and she has not decided on the next book. But if you plug into the website, you'll see what it is. And of course, we'll put the website in the show notes, so not to worry.
Well, that's
It's
another
not,
great way for people to network. And
yes.
yeah, fantastic. And how can listeners get involved if they wish to join
So,
the network or otherwise join in these very specific events you have coming?
yes. So on the legacylabyrinthproject.org website, there is a page where you can sign up for the peaceful and free elections. Upon signing up, you will get some materials. If you're not familiar to labyrinths, not to worry. We have a little intro into labyrinths. I think there might even eventually be a little video about intro to labyrinths, so you'll learn why they're so great in this capacity, and some materials that you can look over before we get together. And then, you can sign up right there. You can also sign up for the Labyrinth Activist Network circle meetings there and join our circle. And if you do that, then you will get the materials ahead of time. You'll get a link to the Zoom meeting that happens on Tuesday and anything else that we send out.
Should people, who join the circle, I mean, the normal will be walking a finger labyrinth, which I guess can be printed off on paper.
Yes, be a link to that on the website.
Is it absolutely necessary for people who want to take part in this event, this series of events, to walk a labyrinth, or would you welcome people who are, using their own approach, their own container?
Well, I, of course, wouldn't want to ever tell anybody what they have to do. I would just urge you to give it a try, to give the labyrinth a try and learn a little bit more about it and see if it resonates with you. But yes, there might be something else that resonates more with you, another way of meditating, but you can still be a part of the circle, of course.
Still hold the intention.
I encourage you to learn a little bit more about the benefits of walking a labyrinth.
Absolutely. And we'll put a few other links in the show notes as well to various websites where folks can find out some more and indeed download a paper labyrinth template as well, as we mentioned.
Right. And when you start investigating labyrinths, if you're going to do a little Google search, there are other organizations that are great too. And the Labyrinth Society, Veritas, even your Labyrinth Launchpad, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So you'll find quite a bit of information and wonderful things that are happening in the labyrinth world.
A lot of wonderful free resources out there, aren't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anything else we should mention that we've not covered about the network in general, but specifically this very important series of events, these 6 events?
Yeah, I think we just need to be easy on ourselves and find community where we can, we don't want to mire down in the negative, right? We do want to have that energetic responsibility where we're putting out positive, powerful energy. But there are times that you need support and you need to talk about what's happening and maybe even turn off the TV, right?
Yes.
And I would also encourage our listeners to go back to the episode I did with Brother Dave about what to do when the news overwhelms you. And I thought some of his recommendations were so helpful. And the first one being, don't judge yourself. No matter what you're feeling, don't judge yourself.
Yes.
We're all, feeling that.
Yeah. That was he's a beautiful individual, isn't it? It was wonderful.
Yes.
That was a wonderful interview. So quite easy to find. Searching down our show page, you'll find that one. Well, I guess it was 2 or 3 months back now, wasn't it? Yeah, no, that was wonderful, and absolutely the power of the collective in, as you say, is working at so many different levels. It's not just the energetic power, which obviously is a key focus, which we are very strongly focused on in our podcast, of course, but it's the way a group of people can support each other, look after each other, keep each other on course, as it were.
Yeah. I'm also always touched when I think about Lane McTaggart's work and the Circle of 8 and the participant effect, where when you are in a group and your intention is for peace and you're sending out peace into the world in a very high level way, that peace comes back to you because there's a torus field around us of energy. And what you put out will come back and you will feel. And we know this as karma or You reap what you sow, or, every different religion has a way of expressing that, right? But it's actually true scientifically. It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a beautiful added benefit, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much talking us through what's happening. And as we say, let's hope that some of our listeners will feel inspired to join.
Love to have you join us.
Yeah. And you'll find a huge welcome there, even if it's mountain time. Well,
sorry about that, Clive.
So, as a reminder of the special intention we are holding this week as we search for possible positives that might arise from the Butler shooting last weekend, we suggest as our main focus for intention, we will that all who might be motivated to encourage polarized reactions and advocate conspiracy theories in the wake of the shooting at Butler, Pennsylvania this weekend, will be stirred with compassion to reconsider their attention to fellow citizens and to uphold the right of others to hold alternative views in a free democracy. Please join us in holding this. So a big thank you again to Ellen for sharing her insights and experiences around the Labyrinth Activist Network and this wonderful initiative for peaceful and free elections in the coming months. That about wraps it up for this episode. Remember, you can connect with us in the Facebook group and for live intention holding in My Daily Insight Timer offerings, and with Ellen in the Labyrinth Activist Network's Zoom calls. Details of how to hook up with these are in our show notes, along with all of the information that we mentioned in connection with the special events. And don't forget our main intention for this week, which we'll also put in the show notes. Look out too for our next deep dive into what's happening in our world, which we'll be releasing in the next few days.
Thank you for listening and for sharing with us and holding intentions. We look forward to connecting again next time. And in the meantime,
thank you. Go well. Stay safe.
And remember, we're more powerful together.
Impact is presented by Ellen Bintz and Clive Johnstone and produced by Impact Productions. Our theme music is by Chris Collins and our logo artwork is by Auto Classic. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or your favorite podcast provider. We're a non-commercial podcast dedicated to people of any faith tradition or none who yearn for healing in our troubled world. Please pass on the word so others may join us in making an impact. Thank you for listening.